want to ask to start this show. And to be honest with you, I don't really, I don't like the fact that I have to ask it. But I do. We do. We should. Because with the Celtics, we kind of know what the situation is. You know what I mean? We know that there's a sale that just went down. Ownership is changing hands. There's some trepidation about how they're going to manage and massage the roster as they go forward. Okay? We also know they've spent a lot of money. They've had a lot of success. Are they going to be able to keep the roster together? We know that. And we're asking that. So we're trying to figure out what's going to happen beyond this year. We've done a lot of talking about beyond this year for the Boston Celtics. And we haven't even brought up, will Tatum, will Brown be here for the long term, finish their careers types of thing with the Celtics. We haven't had that conversation in a long time. We haven't had to, and we're not going to. Here's what I want to know, though. If we're looking and projecting forward, the question I have tonight is, would the Celtics be better off in the long run if they win another championship like they did last year, where they got contributions from a lot of different people? Their depth was really a huge asset for them. Jaylen Brown took control and won conference MVP and NBA Finals MVP. Would that be better for the long term, or would they be better off in the long run if it was a situation where Jason Tatum was dominant, but they lost in the NBA Finals, or they lost before the NBA Finals? Tatum was dominant, but they lost. Think about Jimmy Butler in 2020 in the bubble. Butler was dominant. Butler was a guy who really, led that team all the way to the finals. They lost to LeBron and the Lakers, but he led them through the Celtics. I mean, he was the ultimate alpha in the East that year. People talked about him like a conquering hero, even though he didn't win the championship. They made it feel like he won the championship, but he never did. Never has. So my question is, would the Celtics be better off in the long run if Jason Tatum dominates during these playoffs and they come up short, versus the Celtics find a way to win a championship because Jaylen Brown takes over, they win MVP, wins MVP of both rounds. They've got big contributions from Kristaps Porzingis, who could stay healthy. Drew Holiday makes the big steal to seal the series against the second-round opponent, whatever. That's what I want to know with the Celtics, and I'll answer the question right now. I think in the long run, the Celtics would be better off. Now, don't confuse that for what I'm rooting for. I'm not rooting for the Celtics to not win the championship and for Tatum to ball out. I'm not rooting for that. But if you're asking me what would they be better off for in the long run, there are still questions with Jason Tatum. And if this team is going to get chopped down in any way, shape, or form, it's going to have to begin and end with Tatum. It has to. So, yeah. Again, I don't like the conversation. I don't even like asking the question. But based on what we saw last year, based on the history, I think that the Celtics would be better off for the long term losing in these playoffs and seeing Jason Tatum take his game to another level. I'm not talking about a one-off in Game 6 of one series. I'm talking about night in, night out, different guy. Night in, night out, taking over the fourth quarter, doing all the things that he hasn't been able to do consistently. And I know I love Jason Tatum. I know he has a Tim Duncan aspect to him, an air to him, whatever you want to call it. But he is a guy that just simply has not been as consistent in big moments as you'd like an elite superstar scorer to be. It's very awkward. And I think it's a way that if you're not going to be able to win with a bunch of guys who can ball like they have right now in the future, I do think Jason Tatum has to be a little bit more selfish and a little bit more capable in the biggest moments offensively down the stretch of games against the best teams. I'll just forever believe that. He has to be a guy that other teams fear down the stretch of games. I don't think he is that now. I don't think people fear him. I don't think other teams fear him. They respect him. But I don't think when he has the ball late in the game and the Celtics need a bucket, I don't think other fans, opposing teams, are quaking in their boots. I think they're okay with that reality. And I think that needs to change if the Celtics are going to be better off down the road in the long haul. I mean, I wish it wasn't the case. I just think going forward, I'm not rooting for that. What I want them to do is win the championship again this year, and then we'll figure everything else later. I don't care about later now. I want them to win now. That's what I want. But if they have to carry Jason Tatum, and not that they carried him last year, but if it's a situation where they have to really carry him and he has to lean on other people to get it done and to hit the big shot, and in the fourth quarter he's not as good more often than not, I think that spells bad news for the future of the Boston Celtics, especially if you're talking about a new ownership group, especially if you're talking about a team that's not quite as loaded with talent as they go forward. I think it's going to be really hard for them, big picture. But I'm not worried about the big picture right now. I'm worried about what they could do, this year. And, it's going to take a total team effort. It's not going to be like it was last year. I do think they'll have a couple rounds where it was like last year. I don't see it. I mean, a series against the Magic is interesting. The Magic have given them problems. The Magic are really good defending the three. Celtics are obviously really good taking the three. But I don't see a series in this first round. 6 games max, and it's not going to be a 6 games where you actually thought the Magic had a chance to win it. It's going to be different. The whole Tatum thing is just so fascinating to me. It's fascinating to me because he is such a good player. He does so many things well, but he's just not. He's viewed differently. Maybe it's because of the early success the Celtics had and going to the conference finals, his rookie year, whatever, and always being deep into the playoffs. You can't help but judge the guy based on some of those moments, even if he's not at all ready for them. So that's a reason why he's viewed differently. But I do think if they're in a situation where they need baskets in close games, in a close series, it will be interesting to see how that transpires. I mean, that's easily the most interesting part about this playoff run. Easily. Jason Tatum. How is he able to do what he needs to do to get the Celtics back over the hump? Because I feel like it's going to trend towards him. And if they want to win again, it's going to have to be on him. Just feels that way. I feel like Jaylen Brown did everything he could last year. Now Jaylen Brown's dealing with a little bit of a knee. It feels like if it's going to happen again, it's got to be Tatum big time. Tatum big time, and then a guy like Kristaps Porzingis staying healthy. After all, what has been the one thing that's really derailed other Celtics' chances at a repeat? Or just championship chances, for that matter. It was the Kevin Garnett injury in 2009. It was other injuries. You go back to the 80s. Shaughnessy had an article in the Globe today. Bill Walton in 87. Was it McHale that got banged up in 87? They weren't able to repeat after that excellent team they had in 86. It's always the injuries. Who got hurt in the 70s? John Havlicek got hurt in the Knicks series in 1972 or whatever it was. Going for the repeat. It's always the injuries that prevents the repeat. So this year, we'll see who it is. If it's anybody, hopefully it's not. If it's Kristaps Porzingis, I think they're going to be in some trouble. They need to find a way to stay healthy this year. The teams are going to play are too good. The teams are going to play. Oh, man. Red Sox suck in the field. Suck in the field. I mean, that is friggin' embarrassing. They just dropped an easy one. Sorry. Got distracted by that suck. I mean, this is Little League. We'll talk about it after the game. Celtics are going to be in some close series this time around. They're going to be in some close series this time around. And it's going to come down to, can they finish out and close out those games that they weren't tested in trying to do last year? That's going to be a storyline that we all need to brace for. It's probably not going to happen. I mean, it'll happen in the first round. I don't think they're going to get pushed to the brink, but there'll be a close game, and we'll see how they do. We'll see if they're able to win it in the first round. Because I'm concerned that if their feet are held to the fire too often, that's where it could get ugly and where it could get a little hairy. And if we're talking about going forward, what's more important? What's more beneficial for them going forward? Tatum taking over or them just winning another championship via their depth and other people stepping up all around Jason Tatum? I think it's Tatum going off. I'm not rooting for that, but that's what I think it is. 617-779-0985. When we get back, Tatum is obviously a great player. He's becoming one of the greatest Celtics legends of all time, despite what I just said. Greatest Celtics legends of all time. The question I have, could he ever surpass Larry Bird? That's something I'm thinking about going into these playoffs as well. Mark Dondero here on the Joe Murray Show, 98.5 The Sports Hub.
You're listening to Joe Murray on 98.5.
Way on Sunday, Orlando Magic. I like the matchup. I like the matchup. Team that's kind of giving you some issues. A team that defends. A team that defends the three-pointer well. You know, a team that could give you a little bit of trouble. A little bit of trouble. They're not obviously going to threaten to beat you, barring something unbelievable and catastrophic, but they could create some uncomfortableness for you, and I think that's a good thing. 617-779-0985. That's what you need to do and need to experience at the beginning of a playoff run. You know, try to get some guys a little uncomfortable, see how they react, and get them warmed up for what's coming. So that's a good matchup for the Celtics. I like that. Team that, isn't afraid of you. It's had some success. It's good. I'm just thinking the big picture and Jason Tatum specifically. I've always been I've been critical of Jason Tatum. I've defended Jason Tatum. Like I said, I think he's fascinating. I think he's a fascinating case study of greatness. And, obviously he is a great player in this league. He's a superstar player in this league. And he could bring the Celtics to great places. I never think he will ever get to a point where he will pass Larry Bird in Celtics lore. I don't think it could happen. Do you? I don't think there's anything he could do. Nothing realistic, at least, where he would be able to pass Larry Bird on the, who's the greater Celtic, Tatum or Bird. I don't think that could be. I don't think it's going to happen. Larry Bird won 3 MVPs in a row. Michael Jordan didn't do that. LeBron James didn't do that. I don't think Tatum is going to ever win 1 MVP. I'd like to see it. I think he has the talent. I just don't know. Maybe he will once the Celtics get a little bit depleted and they find guys that aren't as good to put around him, and Tatum has to, be a little bit more assertive, night in, night out, scoring more, be more the focal point, and can't just distribute the basketball to people around him that are so good. I think maybe then he could win. He's never going to win 3 in a row. He'll never get more than 3 championships. He might get to 3. I don't see him making or getting more than 3. And the other thing that I think he lacks severely, and it's not necessarily a negative, but it's reality, and I do think it will impact this discussion and this conversation of Bird versus Tatum. I don't think he comes close to the mystique of Larry Bird. The mystique of Larry Bird is the stuff that legends are made of, the trash talking, the stories, all the different things that he's done over the years and that he's become known for over the years. I just feel like Tatum is so far away from that and all those stories and all those legendary tales of Larry Bird schooling people, dominating cats, and then telling them about it will never allow Jason Tatum to overtake Larry Bird in terms of greatness, in terms of legacy, in terms of all the things that we talk about when we're talking about the all-time greatest players ever. I don't think he can match up with that. I don't think he can stack up to that. I don't think he can be that. It'll be interesting if he gets to a point where we can have a real discussion, which I do think is possible, but I just don't think he's ever going to get to that point of passing Larry Bird. I mean, Larry Bird was so creative with the ball. Those things are going to matter when you talk about looking at mixtapes and different things and different aspects of the game he was so good at passing. Not that Tatum isn't, but the way he found guys on the floor, the way he threw his body around, some of the shots that he made, the physicality that he embraced. I feel like Tatum is never going to be able to overcome all of those visuals that Bird produced. I don't see it. Now, maybe one day we can have that discussion. And I mean, first team All NBA has been there. But that's the biggest story going into these playoffs. Can Jason Tatum erase all of whatever we want to call it? The noise, the doubters. I mean, it is funny that he still has the doubters that he does have, but he does. And the reason is because he has come up short in moments where other guys, look at SGA. He hasn't accomplished half as much as Jason Tatum. Neither has Anthony Edwards, not half as much. But the way they play, the way they carry themselves, the way they operate makes it that Jason Tatum doesn't look quite as unstoppable, whatever you want to call it. And I think that's hurt his legacy. For a guy that's been under the microscope since he got into the league, because the Celtics were having success, they were going to the finals, conference finals. He has been under the microscope, and those things, while he was still learning how to play NBA basketball, got magnified and got held against him. Not fair, but the reality. And I don't think if he doesn't come out this year and prove that, the good thing is if he doesn't do it this year, I don't think the Celtics are going to win. So he kind of has to do it in order for them to win. So he's forced into it. So that's a good thing for Celtics fans. Forced into it. And if you want me to spell it out for you, I mean, the most direct way for him to do it is in the fourth quarters. He's got to be a guy that you fear in the fourth quarter. I just don't think it's ever gotten to that point. It's never gotten to that point. He has produced in the fourth quarter. He's had great games and great fourth quarters in specific games. But I don't think he's ever been a guy that people fear in the fourth. They don't fear him. They respect him. They monitor him. They're aware of what he's doing. But fear, you have to have a ton of consistency to develop that fear in other people. And he hasn't done it. It hasn't happened for him. So I think the only way for them to fix this or to overcome all of those things is for Tatum to dominate night in, night out, fourth quarter in, fourth quarter out. That's the only way he's going to get over this, because now people have a preconceived notion about him. He has to be overly so when it comes to production in those moments to change people's opinions. And not that it matters if the Celtics are winning, but if you're talking about the legacy of Tatum and all associated with his legacy and what he's trying to, the things that he wants to accomplish and getting that respect and people aren't respect, it comes in the fourth quarter of playoff games. And maybe being a little bit more demonstrative. It's ridiculous that that's the way it is, but that's the way it is. And we'll see if he's able to respond beginning on Sunday. 617-779-0985. If it doesn't happen, the Celtics might get in trouble later in the playoffs. But for now, it's about easing into it. It's about having some rhythm against the Orlando Magic, a team that's good against the three, and it's about Tatum asserting himself. It can't be the Jaylen Brown show this year. Not all the way, because it's not going to be enough for the Celtics, not with the injury. 617-779-0985. But it's a good stretch of game. It's a good, especially the West is really interesting. And if the Celtics find a way to go through the East and beat this team that comes out of whoever it is, with the way they have won games the last couple of years, they will go down as one of the greatest teams in the history of the NBA. But they have to win. And it hasn't been easy. Joe Murray Show. Mark Dondero in for Joe, 98.5, the Sports Hub.
Essential Sports Hub headline. Presented by Celsius Energy Drinks.
Sports Hub headlines. Red Sox beginning their series, a 4-game set with the Chicago White Sox over at Fenway Park. Celtics getting ready for their playoff run. A lot at stake here. If they win the championship, that would put them on a completely different level. I think they're that good where if they win, they're probably in the line of, they're probably with, I would say, those Pistons teams from the late 80s, early 90s there that won 2 in a row. Real legacy type of team there. They're better than some of the teams that have won multiple championships if they repeat this year, just based on their structure, how they're constructed, and the dominant performance they had last year, and then going on if they win it again. I have them better than, like I said, a lot of the teams that won multiple championships. I have them better than the 2009-2010 Lakers. I have them better than the 2012-2013 Miami Heat. And in large part because this team was built organically. I mean, that's more impressive to me than doing it the way some of those other teams did it. The only reason I'm going to put the Warriors from 17 and 18 alongside what would be the Celtics if they're able to repeat is because the Warriors had a foundation that won a championship before Kevin Durant got there. Now, Durant got there, and that's why they won those 2 back-to-back titles. But, I mean, that was a foundation that was there, and I think the Celtics would honestly be better than that. They'd be more impressive than that. All-time greatness, I don't know about that just because of Durant and how good he was, but the Celtics would be better, I think, based on what they were able to accomplish if they're able to finish this off and win the championship. We're talking about big-time NBA royalty here. It's not going to be the three-peats. It's not going to be the Bulls. It's not going to be Shaq and Kobe. But I would put them on a similar level as those Spurs teams with Tim Duncan. Obviously, they won a lot more, but they never went back-to-back. And I think the Celtics teams, from a greatness factor perspective, rival those types of Spurs teams. They are that good. They're that consistent, and they'll be that legendary if they're able to finish it off. We'll see. It's a big time for Boston. Big part of the year here. I think the other part about the Celtics that, plays into this whole thing is Missoula ball. It's kind of like a thing. It's kind of a, all these great coaches, and I'm not putting Joe Mazzulla in the conversation with some of the greatest coaches in NBA history yet, but all these guys, they sort of had, something they were known for. Phil Jackson, the Zen Master. Pat Riley, I know it was his look, but his teams are always tough and rough, and they play good defense, and they battled you. And teams with great coaches are a lot of times known for something, and Joe Mazzulla has that. Like it or not, he has that. Okay, he has that, whatever that aura, it factor is in terms of Missoula ball, it's become kind of a thing. And if the Celtics find a way to pull it off again, second straight, that has to be a part of his now new legend. Missoula ball. It's not going to be easy, but that's where they're at. That's where they at because this is a team and a roster that we know is on a different level. It's all-time great. And now it's just about proving it when they get into the playoffs and when they play some of these teams. 617-779-0985. I didn't realize something that I'm ashamed to say. There's a guy that rides through Boston every year and acts like Paul Revere. I didn't know this. Did you know this, Skaz? There's some sort of Paul Revere character out there that does this?
No idea.
Apparently, there's some event tonight in Charlestown where a Paul Revere-like figure goes on an abbreviated ride. Okay, and then on Monday night, he apparently goes on the full ride where he's yelling and everything. If you didn't know this was happening and you just came across, you're driving down the road and you come across a guy on a horse in 2025 yelling, "The British are coming," screaming, wearing colonial garb, how have they not called like the Looney Tune bin or whatever? I mean, not everybody must know that this happens, and they must, I got to see this at one point in my life. I want to see this. I want to witness this at some point. Because this feels like, I just didn't know that was something that happened. And I'm all for historical perspective. I know they do the reenactment at Lexington and Concord. I didn't think this was something that happened. But good on us that we can embrace our history the way that we seem to be doing. The guy that, he rides through, and then what does he do when he gets tired? Does he stop and check Twitter? Does he go get a drink at the bar? I love it. I need to know more. I want him on the show. I want him to call the show, the Joe Murray Show, Monday night or whenever he can, from his horse, riding, yelling, "The British are coming." 617-779-0985 to Paul Revere. It's awesome. All right, when we get back, what's the most interesting storyline in the NBA playoffs? Plus, we got a lot to talk about with the Patriots. There's one aspect of the draft they have to absolutely nail. They have to nail it. I don't think we've talked about it enough. We keep talking about the number 4 overall pick. That's not where they need to really, really have a day. We'll get into that as well. Mark Dondero, the Joe Murray Show, 98.5, the Sports Hub.
Don't go anywhere. There's more Joe Murray. More Joe Murray.
spokes with women thing, I laugh every time. I actually... Okay. I don't know what that was in reference to. I spoke with women. 617-779-0985. Joe Murray Show. The NBA playoffs, I think, are going to be exciting. I like it better than March Madness. I just feel like the basketball is better and different, and I like watching scoring and big scoring and teams that know how to score and all of the above. I like that. The West is going to be electric. I'm hoping that the Mavericks do not win. I'm not interested in seeing them play the Thunder. I'm not interested in it. I want to see the Grizzlies. I know John Morant hurt his ankle, and that's frustrating because they need him at full strength if they're going to do anything against a team like OKC. But I want to see what they can do with him on the floor. He's one of the better young players in the game when he's right. And, OKC is awesome. So I want to see what Morant and the Grizzlies can do against a team like that. I just don't buy the Lakers. What I do buy on the Lakers, though, is the fact that they can, because of Luka, do something a little bit unexpected. Kind of like what we saw last year, where the Mavs somehow easily dismissed the Thunder. I didn't think that would be so easy for them, but it was. And I want to see if they're able to do something similar to that again with Luka. Now, people have them as a finals contender. I don't. People love the Clippers. I don't. I don't know why we fall for this every time. James Harden, Kawhi. I know Kawhi Leonard has had success in the playoffs, but I don't know. I feel like that ship has sailed. He's not the same player. And believe me, I'd love to see them get a little noisy. But I don't think he's the same player that he's been, and I don't think he's the player that is going to be able to lead some team to a championship. I don't see that for Kawhi Leonard anymore. This is in 2019. So, if they're able to find a way, the Lakers, to really get some momentum and take it to OKC based on what Luka Doncic has done to them in the past, okay. You'll have my attention. I think the West is loaded. And I haven't even brought up the Warriors and Jimmy Butler and Steph Curry. Another fascinating dynamic just because of what Butler has done in the playoffs and how different he is for that Warriors team. I think the Celtics beat the Magic in 6. I think the Celtics beat the Knicks in 5. As much as I want to romanticize a Celtics and Knicks playoff series, I just don't think it'll be close. I don't think they play defense well enough. I think the Celtics have their number sort of, and if you follow the Celtics, when they have a team's number, it usually gets ugly. The problem is when another team has their number, gets in their head. That's where it becomes a problem for Boston. And that's not going to be the Knicks. I think Cleveland will be a real test, and that might go 7. Might go 7, depending on Jaylen Brown's knee and the Celtics' health. The question will be the finals and the finals against Oklahoma City. I don't think the Lakers give them much of a chance. I think Luka, the Celtics love playing Luka. Love Luka. Jaylen Brown bullies Luka. That doesn't concern me at all. If they play the Lakers, I think that would be a slaughter fest. Warriors would be a problem, and I would be concerned. I'd still pick the Celtics. I'd be concerned. I don't think they're going to get there, so I don't think it's going to be something that they have to worry about, but I would be concerned if they did find a way, the Warriors, to get to the finals and go up against the Celtics. It's about the Thunder. It's about the Thunder who swept you this year. It's about the Thunder that match up well against you this year. They have athletes that can counter the likes of Jaylen Brown. And I feel like if it's the Thunder, they're going to be a team that makes Jason Tatum be special. They'll need Kristaps Porzingis in that series. They'll need his rim protection, but they're going to make, and not even intentionally, just based on what their strengths are, what they do well, they're going to make Jason Tatum have to find a way to beat them with his length and with his elite talent offensively. He's not going to be able to just delegate and pass it off to Derek White and, Jaylen Brown take over. It's not going to work. Lou Dort, those guys, they'll shut him down. It's got to be bigger than that. It's got to be more than that, and that's what the Thunder are going to represent. Can Tatum do it? If he does, he will be on that level that he wants to be on and get the respect and appreciation that he should get. If it doesn't happen, forget it. Because the Celtics, the Thunder are smart. They're well coached. They're not afraid. They have had some experiences in the playoffs. They're going to be a team that will be ready to play you, and I don't buy the fact that the Celtics experience will be able to take them over the finish line. 617-779-0985. When we get back, the Patriots, and if the mock drafts are right, will I be happy? I have my own way, and if you weren't here last night, I'll repeat it. The way I want the Patriots to go isn't exactly what the mock drafts are saying. Not most of them anyway. And if most of them are right, will I enjoy that? Will I be happy about what transpired? 617-779-0985. The Joe Murray Show. Mark Dondero in for Joe.
From the Comfort Tire Studios, the 18-time world champion Boston Celtics are looking for number 19.
Tatum pulling up. It's good.
Hear every playoff game right here. Your home for Boston Celtics basketball. WBC-FM and HD1 Boston 98.5. The Sports Hub. Beasley Media Group Station. Sports Hub headlines. Presented by Celsius Energy Drinks.
Sports Hub headlines. Red Sox currently nursing that 3-0 lead over at Fenway Park. And growing. Sox adding to the lead. They are in the third inning. It is now 4-0 after another RBI hit. They're actually getting hits with guys in scoring position. Wow. Red Sox up comfortably at the moment over the White Sox at Fenway. Other Red Sox news, according to Alex Cora, the team expects to get Connor Wong back in about 2.5 weeks after Wong fractured his finger. We're waiting for him to kind of get back on track, and he should be getting back to baseball activities and be back with the team within 3 weeks. NBA playoffs get underway officially over the weekend. The Celtics, they will be in action on Sunday for their Game 1 at TD Garden against the Orlando Magic. The play-in finishes tonight, so we'll know the official brackets after tonight. Right now, currently, the Miami Heat in control in Atlanta, 58-54. Check that, 58-44 in the second quarter. Later tonight, it'll be the Dallas Mavericks visiting the Memphis Grizzlies, the winner to OKC for the Western Conference playoffs. Sports Hub headlines are brought to you by Safety Insurance, providing comprehensive coverage for your auto, home, and business. Ask your independent agent about safety. I'm Mark Dondero for Boston's Home for Sports. 98.5 the Sports Hub. Next update around 8:30.
Boston plays here.
Coming through the slot. Close shot. Save. Rebound. Scored.
98.5 the
All right, back here, 98.5 the Sports Hub. Mark Dondero in for Joe Murray on the Joe Murray Show. A lot of the mock drafts are starting to lean towards Will Campbell for the Patriots at 4, and I wouldn't hate that. I wouldn't love it because I do believe in the measurables. It's not like I don't like Will Campbell. I think he'll be a good pro. I don't have any scorching hot takes about Will Campbell and what he could be at the next level and as a tackle and all those things. I would like it. It would address a need. It would be a pick for the offense. That's what I'm for, picking offensive players early and often in this draft. That's what I'm for. If we look at Mel Kiper and Field Yates, Kiper has Will Campbell at 4. Kiper has Kenneth Grant, defensive tackle out of Michigan, at 38. Kiper has, or Yates has, Kyle Williams, a wide receiver out of Washington State, at 69. And then in the fourth round, it's Wyatt Millum, a guard out of West Virginia. I wouldn't hate it. If that ended up with the Patriots got in this draft, I would not hate it, just because it's 3 out of 4 offensive players. 3 out of 4 offensive players I can get on board with. 2 linemen and a wide receiver people sort of like. Now, my draft would look like similar, but more activity. what I want them to do is take Tyler Warren with their first pick. That's what I want them to do. I'm not saying hedge your bet, but I want them to get a guy that could be a playmaker. I want them to get a guy that can, contribute to the, blocking or whatever, but I want a playmaker, and I think this guy has it. And just because you're picking at 4, if he's slated to go at 6, I don't care. Now, ideally, they trade down and still get a guy like that. That's what I'd love most of all. But if they can't, I don't care if they take him at 4. I want a weapon, a young, fresh weapon for Drake May. That's what I'm rooting for. That's what I want them to get. A young, fresh, newly minted weapon for Drake May. It's not a receiver, but that's okay because you hope that some of the guys you've acquired, you hope that some of the things that you've done during the free agency period will benefit you, and maybe, dare I say, one of those guys you drafted last year does something productive. Maybe. I'm not going to rule it out completely. I don't think it's going to happen, but I'm not going to rule it out completely. Matt is in Braintree on Will Campbell. Hey, Matt.
Hey, what's up, brother?
What's up,
I just wanted to make this point. You always allow everyone to talk, so I appreciate it. I want to call your show. The Will Campbell measurables thing, it's really asinine, and it's really, really, really insulting to anyone with an IQ above 5. I mean, his arms are an inch shorter. An inch is the length of your eye socket from the top to the bottom. It's really, really dumb when you look at Lane Johnson, Trent Williams, and Tristan Wirfs, right? All 3 are Pro Bowl, all-pro left tackles, okay? Will Campbell is physically taller and weighs more than each one of those guys. So I just would like to hear your comment on that. And again, it's really, really like lowest common denominator stuff for the past 4 months that has been on the media on this guy.
All right. Well, listen, I don't disagree with Matt. The arms thing, again, that's why I don't run and head for the hills. But I will admit, I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I know everything about playing offensive line, especially offensive line in the NFL. And I will admit, the measurables, again, not statistics, but the measurables do tell a story that players that have had this arm length haven't really succeeded at tackle. Okay, and you don't want to take, I don't want to take a guard at 4. Now, if push comes to shove, and I haven't watched the tape on Will Campbell, I'm not going to watch offensive line tape. But if, for me, push comes to shove, I would draft him. I mean, especially if you think that other guys are not worthy of a selection at that spot, I would draft them. And I take my chances with the arms. That's me. Okay, again, not a coach, not an offensive line guru, don't know anything about playing left tackle. I do respect the fact that other players with those measurables haven't worked out, but not enough to not take him if there are other aspects to Will Campbell that I really like. If I think his nastiness is on the level that I want my offensive tackle, offensive lineman to be, good. If I think his head, the head on his shoulders, is something that I can get on board with, it's something that's going to really make him, allow him to be a great pro, I'll overlook the half an inch on the arms or the inch on there, whatever it is. Okay, if he does other things well. Now, if he's got the short arms, the T-Rex arms, and he's Jeremy Swayman, then I run for the hills. That would be something there where I would say, no, the arms, I don't want to do that, and there's other stuff. Then I'm out. But if you love this guy and some of the intangibles that he could bring to the table and whatnot, I'd be willing to overlook the arms a little bit and say, you know what, that's okay. We'll be fine, and we'll take the chance with him. And at worst, not ideal, but he's not a bust. He ends up at guard, and he's a really good guard for me. Gabe is in West Roxbury. Hey, Gabe.
Hey, Mark, how you doing?
What's up, man?
I just got to say, your Tatum take is just crazy. how you think he still needs to prove, and you rather him ball out and lose in the playoffs instead of us win the championship. Skaz, I hope you're having a great night. Just want to say hey to you. And Skaz, I think you have some stats that show Tatum has been one of the top clutch players the last few years. Am I right or no?
I think the narrative is that he isn't clutch, but yeah, I think the stats show that he's more of a clutch player than not. But I think the narrative around Tatum is that he's not a clutch player.
I don't really care what the narrative around him is. First of all, Gabe, I did not say that I'm wishing or hoping that they lose and Tatum balls out. I am not rooting for that. I am not. I am rooting for them to win no matter how it happens. What I am saying is, for the Celtics, I do think it would probably be better. I mean, obviously, the best thing would be Tatum dominates, they win. That would be the best thing. But if you're going to put me in a corner and choose between the two, I think it'd be better long-term if Tatum dominates and the Celtics lose long-term, because they need him to get to that level. And I don't care what the stats say. I don't care what any of those things tell me, okay? I watch the games, and I know when a guy is feared, and I know how I feel about the guy down the stretch of the biggest games. And too often, I don't feel like he's in control. I don't feel like he's going to do something that is going to produce a result for the Celtics that's going to help them win the game. Too often. Now, maybe this is just me being not getting over the whatever mistakes he's made in the past. I just know how I feel in those moments, and I don't feel like something good is always going to happen. That's a problem. Okay, the stats certainly could tell other stories. I hate stats. I think stats lie. I think stats are for losers, Belichick. I agree. They're not useless all the time, but when I'm watching the games and I know how I feel and I know what the other team looks like playing against you, I can come up with my own conclusions. And too often, Jason Tatum, despite what the numbers might say, has fallen short and hasn't allowed his teammates to really believe that he is going to deliver the goods when it matters most. Too often. I just feel like this is the storyline heading into the Celtics playoffs. Can Tatum rise above this? Part of it's not his fault, like I said. He had so much success so early. There was no even though he wasn't ready necessarily to take that step, he had to. He was in the finals, the conference finals, whatever it was. He had to show up. He had to rise up. And maybe we got some ideas about him that aren't necessarily accurate all the time. But I do know what I've seen. And like I said, you got to admit last year, he played well. But to be first team All-NBA and not win conference or NBA Finals MVP, a little strange. Like I said, you will not see that the next 25 years. A first-team All-NBA player whose team wins the championship not win MVP of either the conference finals or the NBA Finals. It won't happen for the next 25 years. You won't see that. The Will Campbell thing, I would do it. If they don't think. Now, I like Tyler Warren. That's what I would do. Okay, but if they don't have Tyler Warren, if Tyler Warren, let's say for the people that are going to make this decision, isn't even on their radar at 4. Like they've decided for whatever reason that he's not close. He can't do it. He's not a guy that we want to get into business with at that pick. He's just not good enough. Fine. That's the case, fine. If you don't think there's anybody else there and you like other aspects and the intangibles that Will Campbell possesses, I'd do it. I'd overlook the arm thing and I would do it. I'm not going to run that far and fast from the arms. I just think you have to go offense. And in case you missed it last night, what I was saying was, I just think you have to get into a situation where you're going to prioritize the offense and put the offense as your new identity. You have to have an offensive identity as you go forward. I think it starts with that. If you're trying to build a team that's going to get back into contention and win a Super Bowl, which obviously you would think that's what they're trying to do, right? Aren't they trying to do that? I think you can't do it through defense. I think you got to do it through offensive production. Getting your offense back in gear. That's how it has to happen. Then you build up the defense from there. And their defense is already good. They don't need more firepower on defense based on what they need offensively. That's why I'm going with offense. No Super Bowl champion, or I shouldn't say no. Most of the Super Bowl champions we've seen in the last 10 years have started with offense and go from there. The Eagles built their offense before they added some of their defensive pieces that helped them get over the top and beat the Chiefs last year. The Chiefs built an offense before they really enhanced the defense and Steve Spagnuolo came in and all these things. It was the offensive identity first. Then the defense came back around and got them to where they wanted to go. Okay? You need to build the offense in today's NFL. And just from a Patriots perspective, with where you've been and how you've been forced to win games since Tom Brady left, you need to get out of that cycle. You have to get out of the business of only being able to beat teams 17-13. I'm out of that. I don't want to be another defensive identity type of team. And they shouldn't either. Not with Drake May on a rookie deal. You need to infuse the offense with enough that could make them the identity of this team. That's got to be what I want that to be what people think of first as we go forward here with the New England Patriots. And an offensive tackle would help. It's a safe pick. It's not a miss. It's not going to be a miss. That's good. It's not a miss. They need two guys in this draft that can become impact players. Two of them. You'd think you'd get one at 4. You got to find another at least. Doesn't need to be 5, like Tommy Curran said, but you got to get at least 4. I'm sorry, 2. You got to get at least 2 from this draft that can play and that can impact the game. If they can't do that, they're going to just be what they've been. They're going to be, we're going to talk about them early in the season like we talked about the Red Sox, like Maz was doing an hour ago or whenever they were doing the baseball show. What's changed? Or maybe this was Felger and Maz. I was listening. What's changed? They're 10-10 like they've been every year in the last 5 years, the Red Sox. 500 average. They need something to change the Patriots. And the way to do that is start drafting offensive guys. Not just to help your product between the lines, but to get off of this whatever you've been on where you cannot find offensive talent in the draft to save your life. At least not guys that can touch the football. They have to get back to doing that, and they're not going to if they're taking defensive guys and edge rushers and these things. It helps. You need those guys, but not right now. Get dressed first, then go out for coffee. Not the other way around. 617-779-0985. When we get back, there's one aspect to the NFL draft that is more important than anything for the New England Patriots. They have failed time and time again in this spot. And if they really want to turn things around, it has to happen here and now. And I'll tell you where when we get back. Mark Dondero in for Joe Murray on The Joe Murray Show.
You're listening to Joe Murray on 98.5.
In the second effing round of the NFL draft. Okay, I'm gonna read you some of their second round picks in recent years. We'll go back 20 years. Second round picks. I mean, second round. That's a really good spot to get a good player. A lot of good players come out of the second round. Here's what the Patriots have manufactured in the last 20 years. Jalen Polk, Keon White. Keon White is fine. I just feel like he's like a hype machine. You know, it's what's the phrase? He's 2 years away from being 2 years away. That's what that's what it feels like Keon White is. We keep waiting for it. We see the potential. We're waiting. We're hoping. We're waiting. That's a nothing burger right now, Keon White. I can't mark him down as a second-round success story. Tyquan Thornton. Christian Barmore, good second-round pick. Good. Kyle Duggar, good second-round pick. But we're not talking about all-star, all-pro type of guys. Barmore's had injury issues. Duggar is a good player. He's limited. Not a great pass defender. Can make some plays. He could be a little bit of a ball hawk, but he's not, we're talking about a guy that's okay. He's good. He's not some star. Other names, second-round picks, Josh Uche, Joejuan Williams, Duke Dawson, Cyrus Jones, Jordan Richards, Jimmy Garoppolo, fine, whatever, good. You should have gotten more for him. You could have got more. You didn't. How about Jamie Collins? Good pick. Good pick in the second round. Another defensive guy, but a good pick in the second round. Aaron Dobson. No. Tavon Wilson. No. Raz I Dowling. No. One of the most devastating picks in the history of the franchise. What was he, the first pick of the second round that year, 2011 or whatever it was? And that's what you come up with? Shane Vereen, really good pick. Really good second round pick. 2011. He was 56. He was the pick after Dowling. Okay, obviously the centerpiece of second round picks for the Patriots is Rob Gronkowski. Okay, and not to diminish the Rob Gronkowski pick, but one of the reasons he was there was because of the injury concerns. So I'm not going to not give Bill Belichick credit for that, but I'm just saying, he was there because of injury concerns, not because you identified some marquee talent that a lot of people were looking at. And then Jermaine Cunningham, nothing, and Brandon Spikes, whatever. Okay? We can go back a little further. Patrick Chung, good pick, not a star. Ron Brace, Darius Butler, Terrence Wheatley, Chad Jackson, Sebastian Vollmer. Vollmer was a good player. Okay? That's a lot of suck there. There's a lot of bad things there that went on in the second round. A lot of things I wouldn't want my children to see. Okay, those are the second round picks of the New England Patriots. Okay, let's just talk for a second, if we can, about the second round picks of the Philadelphia Eagles. Okay, Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagles and what they've done in the second round. Okay, because I'm interested in what they've been able to do in that round for a team that has recently won the championship. And now I can't find the link, and I'll get it. Because the Eagles obviously have done good things in the draft and beyond. Free agency, getting guys. So that's something that they've been able to find success with. They're obviously one of the better teams in the league in drafting in the second round, drafting at any point of any round. And now I can't find the link. I will get it. Okay, this is a situation where some of the and these aren't even teams that are, awesome. I mean, go to the Buffalo Bills. Some of those teams, they have good success in the second round, and they can't even win anything. They're not even Super Bowl champions, and they've been snake bitten and all these different things. They haven't been able to do it like some of the teams that have won, but it hasn't been the Patriots. I mean, that list that the Patriots put forth is just disgusting. And they're going to have to figure out a way to fix it. Because if they can't, they're going to be right back to where they started. Here are the Eagles' second round picks. Okay, listen to some of these names. Some of them I probably don't even know how good they are. Some of them I might not know their full names. Second round picks for the Eagles last 20 years. Cooper DeJean, Super Bowl hero, had a pick 6 in the Super Bowl as a rookie. Cam Jurgens. Landon Dickerson. Jalen Hurts. Okay, I mean, these are guys that have played, that have contributed to championship teams. Some of them are studs. Miles Sanders, not a stud. I'm not going to read every name. Dallas Goedert. I mean, these are guys that play. Zach Ertz. LaShawn McCoy. I mean, that's how you win the championship. Cooper DeJean, Landon Dickerson, Jalen Hurts, Dallas Goedert, Zach Ertz, Jordan Matthews. Like, they get it done in the second round. Okay? Let's look at another team that in the second round has gotten it done. And no surprise, they've won Super Bowls. Hello. That'd be the Kansas City Chiefs. Okay, Rashee Rice, second-round pick, wasn't even a part of the thing this year. Nick Bolton, second-round pick. Creed Humphrey, second-round pick. McCole Hardman, second-round pick. Juan Thornhill, second-round pick. Chris Jones, second-round pick. These are all guys, some are studs. That's just within the last, since 2016. Just that alone, since 2016. The Chiefs have had more studs in the second round than the Patriots had since 2005. If you talk about Chris Jones, Creed Humphrey, Nick Bolton, and Rashee Rice, that's more production in the second round since 2016 than the Patriots have had since 2005. Forget 2016. Okay, go back to 2021. Humphrey, Bolton, Rice. Better than anything you've done in the second round since 2005. They did it in 3 years. 2 years. Stupid. Now, I get it. Those are two of the top teams in the league. But you have to be... Rob Gronkowski is the only guy that you really made hay with in that round. Go back, Deion Branch, obviously one of the best second-round picks in the history of Bill Belichick's tenure. But you need to make some hay in there. These are guys that are not even players. They're busts. Man, that's brutal. Man, that's bad. So, it starts there, and we know that. We've known that. It starts there. And if they have to find somebody that is not just an NFL player, an impact player in that round, or it is going to be really bad and really ugly. And by really bad and really ugly, they're just going to be, mediocre. And we're going to continue to have these conversations because it's just not good enough. They've got to get into the second round and make a little bit of production happen, or else it's going to be something where, once again, we're frustrated come January and come those times when other teams are going to the playoffs. Tim is in Nashua. What's up, Tim?
Mark, I am real curious because all the mock drafts that I'm seeing, it just shows them going by the book, taking pick by pick. I'm more in favor of, go ahead, take that offensive lineman, but I want you going back into that lower first round and grab another, person that's going to be put into play, a starter.
Well, I love that, Tim, and that is what I would do. This is what I would do. I would trade out of that first pick, especially if it's Will Campbell. If you don't love him, if you think you can get another offensive lineman, another offensive tackle somewhere, I would trade out of that pick. I would trade back into the later half of the top 10. I would draft another player at that point, whether an offensive player, and then hopefully if you could get an extra second-round pick, I would package the second-round picks to get back into the first round, and maybe you'd have a shot at Kelvin Banks. Maybe you get 2 offensive linemen. Maybe you get a receiver or Tyler Warren and an offensive lineman. That's what I would hope for. If you could do something like that, I think you'd be in business. But let's keep in mind, that is how you turned around the defense some 13 years ago. When the defense was a major problem on the team, much like the offense is now, you took Chandler Jones, traded back in, and then you took Dante Hightower. It completely changed the foundation and the outlook of the defense when you did that. And they never were the same, and they went from there, and they won Super Bowls from there, and all of the above. So I think that that's something they should seriously consider. I don't know if they're going to be aggressive enough. I don't know who they like that well or that much to do something like that. Warren is my guy. If you could trade back and get him good, I would not be opposed. And now you got to have a trade partner. But whatever you can do, if there's somebody you like that much, go get them, especially if it's an offensive player. 617-779-0985. Mark Dondero in for Joe Murray. Joe Murray Show. We'll get a headlines.
Essential Sports Hub Headline. Presented by Celsius Energy Drinks.
Fifth inning over at Fenway between the Red Sox and the White Sox, and Boston in total control. Red Sox currently up 6-1. As I said, they're in the top. Marathon, best of luck. I know he's an athlete. I know he's run marathons before. I didn't know he was running this one. Why didn't I know this? Did we all know this? Good luck to Tim. I hope he dominates. I hope he gets under his mark or whatever he's trying to do. I hope he gets there. Because, this is an unbelievable accomplishment. I don't know if he's run this marathon before. I don't think he has. I think he ran another one, Chicago. Maybe he's run it before. I'm not going to speak for him. I don't know. But good luck, Tim. T-Mac. Yeah, that's what it's going to come down to for the Patriots, that second-round pick. Can you get a second-round pick? It was really demoralizing that last year the Patriots, they went for it. They were trying to overcome the shortcomings of Bill Belichick. They go for the receiver who actually looks pretty good for a lot of, camp. He looked like he was capable, preseason even. And then he can't. He's not capable. Turned into a guy that was not capable. So I don't know if that's going to change. I think that's going to be a big ask based on how he played last year. I don't think they're going to be able to get him to a level where he's able to compete and get to where he's actually productive. But they have to make it. That's such a bad list of teams or of players that you've drafted in the second round. It's embarrassing. So if they can find a way to turn that around, man, would that be helpful. Really helpful based on where they've been and what they've been trying to do here. And I'd have more faith if it wasn't. Let's look at another team. Real quick, just to further the point. The Buffalo Bills. Second-round picks. Okay? Keon Coleman. Now, I don't know what you think about him. James Cook was a second-round pick. Great player. A.J. Epinesa. Robert Woods. Kiko Alonso. These are all guys that have been productive. Now, they haven't won Super Bowls. It doesn't blow you away. But I don't know. It still might be better than you. I get Rob Gronkowski was a second-round pick, but you just had too many and the worst part is Belichick, too many times he went with cornerback in the second round and couldn't get it done. That's a position he coached. He's got to know that position better. And still couldn't get it done in those moments. They've got to find a way, and they're not. And it's not just the second round either. It's the third round. But I'm just saying, when you have these teams when you have these opportunities, especially when you're atop the draft, you have to find a way to convert. I just put in another random team, the LA Chargers. Second round picks, Ladd McConkey, Asante Samuel Jr., Hunter Henry, Manti Te'o, Eric Weddle, Vincent Jackson. That's in the last 20 years. Sound a little more productive than you? Feels a little more productive than you. So, you got to be better than that. You got to be better than that. They should have 4 or 5 guys that have been year in and year out stars for them in the second round. Now, I get during the Tom Brady era, they weren't always picking high in the second round. Rarely were they picking high in the second round. But you got to be better than that. Same goes for the third round. You've got to find more in the third round in those rounds. 617-779-0985. That's where we are with the Patriots. And I think that's going to determine how fast they get back into contention. Can you have the success in those rounds again? We'll see. Mark Dondero for Joe Murray on the Joe Murray Show, 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Don't go anywhere. There's more Joe Murray. On the way on 98.
Obviously, the Celtics have become what they've become because of the NFL draft. Because of their drafting. They've drafted. Drafts. Huge. And the Patriots, obviously, they need to convert here more than ever based on where they've been. We talked a lot about the second-round picks. Third-round picks haven't been a bargain either. Third-round picks for the New England Patriots last 20 years. Caden Wallace, Marte Mapu, Marcus Jones, Ronnie Perkins, Anthony Jennings, Devin Asiasi, Dalton Keene, Chase Winovich, Damian Ridley, Ryan Mallett, Brandon Tate, Taylor Price, Sean Crable, Tyrone McKenzie. Again, third round, so you're not going to find guys that you love necessarily, but I mean, this other than, Logan Ryan was good. He was good. He wasn't great. I mean, you got in 30 years, check that, 20 years, you got, one star in the third round in 20 years of drafting into third round? I mean, unless you consider Marcus Jones a star, I don't know if I consider him a star yet. Not yet. But you can get third rounders to come in and do things. The Patriots haven't in 20 years. Joe Thuney, good player. He's a star level player, but he's a guard. Arguably the least important position on the line, on the offense. I mean, there's other guys that have been good third-round picks, and the Patriots just haven't gotten any of them. They can't get them. Russell Wilson was a third-round pick. Now, obviously, that's a little different. Steve Smith Sr., third-round pick. Jason Witten, third-round pick. Marshall Yanda, third-round pick. Travis Kelce, third-round pick. Tyrann Mathieu, third-round pick. Alvin Kamara, third-round pick. Navarro Bowman, third-round pick. Mark Andrews, third-round pick. T.Y. Hilton, third-round pick. Brian Westbrook, third-round pick. I mean, in 20 years, when you really boil it down, that is rough. Second and third round production. Extremely tough. I mean, it speaks to the greatness of Tom Brady that they've been able to win so much with that level of production in the third round. Not even close. So now's the time without Tom Brady with this new regime to figure it out and to make hay in those rounds, or else it's just going to be another slaughter fest. They're not going to be able to make up the ground. Drake May is not going to have the support. I mean, you have to find a way to get these guys under contract for cheap money and not always have to spend big money in free agency and overspend and overpay for different guys that probably aren't worth it. You need a guy like Jalen Polk to produce. You need those types of players to come to your program and to get it done fast. Or else it's just not enough. And it hasn't been for the Patriots, and that's now they've been exposed because of Tom Brady's departure. Totally exposed. And I don't know where they're going to go if they're not able to make this happen for them, because it's just been something that they haven't been able to do. And I outlined what the plan should be for them. I would take offense, and I think that's a huge mistake if they go in any other direction. How many things are you going to get on defense? You loaded up with Harold Landry. You got Milton Williams. You got Christian Barmore coming back from the blood clots. You got a great cornerback situation. You could use a safety. Okay, but there are other needs way more pressing than that right now. Go after them. Try to fill them. And I think they're going to. I think they're going to go down that road. But until they do, I can't be sure. And until they do, they're not going to be any better than they've been, honestly. You know, the only X factor in this whole thing is Josh McDaniels. And I'll tell you another X factor in this draft. And I don't know where you're going to get. I don't know where you get them. I don't know how you get them. Maybe they have them. Maybe they can use them a little bit better. An X factor in this draft. I really think they need a running back that catches the ball out of the backfield. And I'm not talking about Ashton Genty. I'm not getting a running back at 4 overall or 6 overall. I'm not doing that. But they could use a running back that is able to go and get somebody or make a catch out of the backfield and take some pressure off of Drake May, be an outlet, be a safety valve, whatever you want to say. That's a guy that they are starving for and really have been since James White retired. They need that. And I'll wait around until they can get it. If they can get it late in the draft, that would probably be ideal. But that's something that they have to find a way to achieve, or else it's going to be a situation where, like I said, they're going to make it hard on their offense like they have since Tom Brady left. 617-779-0985. Let's get a headlines when we get back. An article came out today from Seth Wickersham on Bill Belichick in the book that is set to be released. We can get into that. I have a comment on that. Mark Dondero, Joe Murray Show, 98.5, The Sports Hub.
From the Town Fair Tire Studios, this is Boston's home for sports.
Holiday 3. Good night. Forces it up over. Somebody tied it.
WBZFM and HD Boston 98.5, The Sports Hub. Beasley Media Group Station. Sports Hub headlines presented by Celsius Energy Drinks.
It's a multi-home run night for Trevor Story. 2 jacks for Story as the Red Sox are in firm control over at Fenway Park. 9-2 currently in the 7th over the White Sox. Other Red Sox news today. Alex Cora saying that they expect to get Connor Wong back from his fractured pinky in about 2.5 weeks. So that's not imminent, but they do expect to get him back. Celtics, they get their first round playoff series underway on Sunday against the Orlando Magic. Game 1 will be at 3:30 at TD Garden. NBA playing games tonight. The Miami Heat have been in control all night long against the Atlanta Hawks, but the Hawks just took the lead 91-90. They're in the early stages of the fourth quarter there. And later tonight, the Mavericks will take on the Grizzlies for the right to take on OKC in the Western Conference playoffs. Sports Hub headlines are brought to you by Valvoline. Enjoy quick and convenient vehicle maintenance this month. Visit NewEnglandOilChange.com for 15% off your drive-thru oil change at Valvoline Instant Oil Change, the official oil change of busy people. I'm Mark Dondero for Boston's Home for Sports, 98.5 The Sports Hub. Next update, 30 minutes.
Start your day.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Work through your day.
What's that thing we do at the end of the show?
And end your day.
I'm not giving you an opinion. I don't know.
Right here. 98.5.
So apparently Bill Belichick is not being too well received down in North Carolina amongst other employees and people that work for the school. The media down there, allegedly he has been, being what he is to the media. He shut them out. He hasn't opened up practice. When he does open up practice, none of the college kids have any numbers. Nobody knows who's who or what's what. And that's hurt Bill Belichick in the eyes of people down in North Carolina. I don't know if it's going to hurt his program. His recruiting class right now is pretty good. But the book that's coming out is very interesting, and it's not something I'm going to read. Screw that. Nope. He comes out with a book. He doesn't get into anything that I really actually want to know about, and I'm, as a result, not going to read it. I don't care. I don't care about his philosophy and different things. I mean, he told a story apparently, allegedly, reportedly, on a mistake he made was not activating Dan Klecko for the 2003 Super Bowl against the Panthers. Who the hell cares? Okay? Now, I know he probably doesn't care who's advising him or he doesn't listen to who's advising him on the, but people want to hear about vulnerabilities and things they don't know about. That's what sells books. Who cares that you regret not activating Dan Klecko for a game you ended up winning anyway? I wanted to know about Malcolm Butler. I wanted to know about Spygate. I wanted your true feelings on those things. And what I don't want to feel is the pettiness that you have or the resentment that you have for people that were key figures in your life. I mean, not mentioning Robert Kraft. I understand that the Apple thing was not good. And maybe this is payback. But why would I want to read that? Why would I want to read a book about all that time with the Patriots and you mentioned Robert Kraft? I mean, a huge part of winning, the winning that they did, was centered around their ability and Bill's ability to keep the band together and to manage the relationships. That was a big part of it. It wasn't everything. A lot of it was Brady. But Belichick had a big hand in that, managing the relationships and keeping people accountable and doing those things. And that includes Robert Kraft. Managing the relationship with Robert Kraft, if you didn't always see eye to eye, was a major part of the Patriots' ability to sustain winning. So I'm not reading the book. I don't care. And here's another thing. I'm not entirely sure. I'm not saying he didn't deserve to write a book on winning, but you didn't really win all that much without the one guy. That's awkward. It's just awkward. I mean, if you couldn't win without that one guy, it's hard to write an entire book on the subject, an entire book on it. Tom Brady was everything in terms of your winning. The second he left, it eroded. Before he got there, wasn't good. Cleveland was all right. I mean, he was a guy in Cleveland. I'm not here to put Bill Belichick's entire legacy or resume on trial. I'm just saying that's the reality. Okay? It wasn't that good without Tom Brady. And I don't know how far into, what he says about Tom Brady in the book. Obviously, the respect for Tom Brady is there. You can't write an entire book on winning when you had to lean so heavily on Tom Brady. I can't get on board with that, and as a result, I'm pissed he didn't bring up some of the things that I really wanted him to bring up. Some of the vulnerabilities that made him who he was. And as a result, I'm just not gonna read it. I've read other books on Bill Belichick. I know about his career and some of the other things that I find interesting. I just feel like what we really wanted to know about, he said, nah, screw that. And that's not cool from from somebody that's trying to read a book and find out information I didn't know. So, out on the Bill Belichick book. I thought it could have been a great book. The North Carolina stuff, you almost forget that he's going to actually be coaching football games this fall. Obviously, my mind isn't on football in that way. The fall, I'm not worried about the fall. I was just at the Masters. We're getting ready for the PGA Championship. The golf season is in full swing. Still haven't played a round of golf this year where I haven't walked. I understand it's been wet. I like to walk on the course. Save a little money, get a little exercise, whatever. But sometimes it's nice to walk when you play a nice course, or it's nice to ride in the cart, rather. You play a nice course. You get a cart. You're not carrying the bag, all that. So you got to do that. But I'm not thinking about football games and football schedules right now. But Bill Belichick does open up September 1st against TCU. I thought the one thing that the Wickersham article did do an interesting job of, and this is actually a feather in the cap to Bill Belichick, and I'll be fair. He talked about how Tom Brady, and it really highlighted the fact that Tom Brady wasn't the fun one down in Tampa and at Baker Mayfield. We remember the comments from, I think it was February, or maybe it wasn't February, January, where he talked about wanting, people felt a little tight around Brady. It wasn't always fun. And that was a part of what they were dealing with. I don't know. I did think that was a good thing to point out in relation to Bill Belichick, because Bill Belichick, had so much say in what Brady did from a day in and day out perspective. But, I think obviously Tom Brady took a lot from Bill Belichick. I'm just saying, from what we know about Belichick, the reality is he didn't win a lot without Brady. So to write a whole book on the art of winning feels awkward to me. The art of winning was getting Tom Brady into your program. That was the art of winning. I just have nothing else to bet. Now, yes, you get the credit of being there with Brady, but you would have gotten more, book type of credit had you won a little bit more without him, which he didn't do. And now he's got his girlfriend who is all over I don't know what that is or what to think of what's going on down there with that situation. And how the girlfriend is becoming this big piece of what they're doing. She's working for the school. She's basically, a consigliere to him. The new Burge. I wonder if he will be back for the Bill Parcells ceremony in August. Now, I know it's going to be a busy time. It probably would have been easier if it was a situation where they were not where they weren't, where he wasn't coaching. But I wonder if he will be back, because that's the guy that really set you up for the success that I understand. You were with him in New York, you went to Cleveland, you were with him in other places, you did these things. That's the guy that's really going to set you. He really set him up. Okay? So it'll be really interesting to me if he comes back for that, and what his interactions then would be with, Robert Kraft. You didn't mention him in the book. I don't think Robert Kraft is going to care. But that's a thing that Bill Belichick should be at if his schedule permits. And I don't know, ask his girlfriend if his schedule will allow for that. 617-779-0985. Those second-round picks, man. That's the theme of this Patriots draft. That's why these teams can fast-track themselves into contention. That's why the Commanders were able to do what they did this year. Yes, it was Jaden Daniels. And just by the way, as we get closer and closer to the draft, I get more and more upset. And I didn't really feel this as much last year, but I still did a little. But it's getting worse and worse when you think of what could have been if they didn't win some of these meaningless ass games down the stretch of the last two seasons. Denver, or whenever. What was the Christmas Eve game? Was that Denver? Or was that Pittsburgh? At Pittsburgh. At Pittsburgh, a team that I think, if I recall, didn't they go to the playoffs? And you somehow found a way to win at Pittsburgh at night. And then this year, the last game of the year, you could have had everything you could have had Travis Hunter. And I can't believe we're talking about Travis Hunter. It's not happening. We got to a point where, there was a while we were talking about him. We thought it was going to be a realistic possibility. That is not even, it's not even worth discussing at this point. He's not coming here. It's not even going to be a chance of him falling to 4. No chance. He almost did, though. And you would have had a chance at him had you just lost that game and had the Crafts done the right thing and just let Gerard Mayo go when they should have. But they didn't. They couldn't, they didn't, and here we are now once again in a spot where they should have had a better pick and it could cost them. Now, we think Drake May will be the guy. Jaden Daniels appears like he's the guy. But it could have been better. It could have been bigger this year, and you could have had Hunter. And I think Hunter is going to be that guy. I think he's going to be everything that you'd want him to be. You'd want an NFL player to be. But doesn't matter now because they have no chance at him. None. And it's a shame. Could have done it. Could have been there. And who knows? That's the exact type of player that you need. And they're not going to, they just couldn't get to him. They couldn't do it. They couldn't find a way to do what they had to do, even though the season had been beyond lost, especially after what you saw happen against that Chargers team in that game in December. The season was gone. There was no reason. Gerard Mayo didn't even deserve to finish out the season at that point. You didn't do it. 617-779-0985. When we get back, we're going to play Take Your Pick on the Joe Murray Show. Mark Dondero in for Joe.
You're listening to Joe Murray on 98.5.
Joe, Mark Dondero in for Joe. It's that time for Take Your Pick here on the Joe Murray Show. Let's let her rip.
All right, Mark, another edition of Take Your Pick. We will start, it's been a obviously heavy Boston theme show tonight, as you can imagine, so let's start there. Your better Boston guy performance in a movie, Ben Affleck in The Town or Matt Damon in Good Will Hunting?
That's a good one. Two legendary roles, two legendary movies. I'm going to have to go, though, with the Affleck character in The Town. I just think, there was a lot of the Boston obviously was a big part of Matt Damon's character. I just feel like I don't think that movie leaned into Boston quite as much as The Town. And that's probably the difference. Damon was a rough and tumble kid from wherever they were, for Southie or whatever it was, Will Hunting. But I feel like The Town really helped out the character. The movie, the script, the storyline really helped out the character. Robbing Fenway Park, all the things associated, Charlestown, the hockey rinks. Like, it was really Boston through and through with that character. And, the mob was a part of it. And, it was just, that was something big that I think really helped out what Matt Damon was doing, or checked out what Ben Affleck was doing with that character and in that role. And as a result, I think that the character that Ben Affleck played in The Town, even just the name of the movie and the guys he associated with, I know there was sort of a posse in both of those movies. I think it was The Town, and I think it was Ben Affleck in that movie, just because of what he did and the way he acted and all the other aesthetically pleasing things that had to do with Boston in that flick. Ben Affleck is the answer on that one.
Yeah, I think I'd agree with that. It just, Matt Damon's guy, the movie's in Boston, but Affleck's character feels more like a Boston guy in the movie. I mean,
they tried to do, the Good Will Hunting had its Boston aspects to it. They were, from Southie, and they had the accents, and the Sox, they talked about the Red Sox in 75, and he was pissed when the guy didn't go to the game and all that. But it was about his brilliance and the struggles, and the girl. Like, none of that really had to do with Boston. The whole Town movie was about being in Charlestown and then leaving. So that was different.
All right, Mark, our second Take Your Pick tonight. What is a more legendary part of Boston? Or I should say a more legendary feature of Boston, maybe? The Green Monster or the old Boston Garden Parquet?
That's tough. I mean, both part of, it's not that tough. I got to go with the parquet. The visual of the Green Monster is more explosive because it's been in your face. They can put advertisements on it, the All-Star game, whatever it is. Definitely more explosive. But the parquet, that's a visual in itself. Guys, they've walked on that. They've played on that. They did their thing on that. I just feel like the parquet, as a result, is just, and you get the visuals. So you get the fact that they've actually played on it, and you get the visuals. The thing about the Green Monster, they got all those autographs inside. However, okay, a lot of those autographs aren't people from Boston. They're not people from, that have anything to do with the Red Sox even. Rory McIlroy signed the inside of the damn Green Monster. So I think the parquet, based on what it represents, it's not as explosive visually, but all the history that took place on it, you can still see it. It was recognizable as a part of the Celtics history. I think the parquet is probably a better answer. Next.
All right, on to our next one. We did a little Tatum and Bird talk earlier in the show. Who wins in a game of 2-on-2? Tatum and Havlicek versus Bird and Pierce.
This would be a question more fit for Bob Ryan. But Jason Tatum, who was it? Jason Tatum and John Havlicek? Okay. Jason Tatum, John Havlicek versus Larry Bird and Paul Pierce. I would say it's Bird and Pierce because I'm biased to Bird, and Paul Pierce is probably my favorite Celtic of all time. I don't remember Bird as much. Havlicek, he never stopped running, and he'd probably wear out Paul Pierce. And if Tatum was on, he's as good as anybody ever when he's on and he's making his shots and he's doing those things. But I can't trust that. I trust Larry Bird. I trust Paul Pierce more. And based on that trust, I would go with Pierce and Bird. Mainly because of Larry Bird, I trust him to make the shot more than anybody else, and I think he could intimidate Jason Tatum. And the height is they actually have the height advantage too. Bird he's an inch taller than Tatum. Pierce is an inch taller than John Havlicek. So I would say the height advantage, Larry Bird, I would go with those two, but call Bob Ryan and he can correct me if necessary.
All right, we'll stick with the Celtics for this one. Who do you think was more beloved by Celtics fans, Isaiah Thomas or Derek White?
Both beloved. Both of those guys for different reasons. I'm going to say Derek White just because he's won. Now, was he wasn't the featured guy. He wasn't featured like Isaiah Thomas. Like Isaiah Thomas, when he was here, he was the guy. And it's hard to believe. What was that, 10 years ago? Is it that long ago Isaiah Thomas was here?
It was like 15, 16, right in that range.
Yeah. Man, that is crazy. I mean, I was covering those Celtics teams as like a reporter at the TV station. That is crazy. It was that long ago. But it just goes to show what some of these other teams are dealing with now. The upstart, good team, makes some plays, but not good enough, not enough. What other teams have the Kelly Olynyk's and the Isaiah Thomases? Who else was on those teams?
Jay Crowder.
Remember Jared Sullinger?
Oh, yeah.
There's another Crowder. I liked Crowder.
Jerebko was probably on that team.
I liked Crowder. He could defend a little bit. I remember he used to give a little bit of trouble to LeBron James. Could make a three here and there. Jay Crowder. Wow. Yeah, Isaiah Thomas, 2015 to 2017. Boston Celtics. Fun little time. You knew they were never going to win anything, but it was they made themselves relevant. He used to go to the watch and point to the wrist and all those things. Fun time there for the Celtics. 10 years ago-ish it started. That's interesting. But I just think White was more likable, more lovable, whatever, because they won. He won. He was never going to be the star, but he had the putback in Miami. That was as clutch as you'll ever get. He's super likable overall. His personality. He comes up big in big moments. He does all the dirty work. He never complains. I mean, that's as likable as you'll get. Derek White's the answer there next.
All right. Would you rather take your pick, would you rather do what we hope Tim McCone is going to do on Monday and win the Boston Marathon? We hope. Or would you rather own the Boston Celtics for one season?
Imagine if what would we do as a station if McCone won the marathon? Like, I know it's not even realistic enough to really talk about, but like, what would happen? Would we we cover it?
We'd have to get a statue of him or something.
Yeah, I mean, he'd have to be like. Do Felger and Madge talk about him? Do they like?
They'd probably lead the show.
Do they nitpick like what he did wrong, even though he won the marathon and came out of nowhere?
He really struggled coming down the stretch, though.
I could see I could just see it now. Well, I mean, he did stop for water a lot. Like if he really was going to win it impressively, he wouldn't have done that. I mean, I don't think that could happen. Obviously, but it's funny to think about. The answer, that's a tough question. I think the answer is win the that's a real accomplishment.
It stays with you for life.
Yeah,
too.
You're like a legend. I mean, it kind of ends there. You get some money. But, I mean, it would be great to own the Celtics for a year. Would be outstanding. Absolutely outstanding to own the Celtics for a year. You could sit courtside anywhere you wanted. You get to know all the players. You'd meet some people. That would be ridiculous to be able to do that. But I feel like winning the marathon, I mean, that's something that you could say you always did. You'd be a legend, especially somebody that was American. How many Americans win that race? So I think the answer is win the marathon, even though I would think about it for a second. I would pick the marathon, but I think about it for a second just because the access that you would have as owner of the Celtics. And you could probably parlay that into other opportunities or whatever if you were a one-year owner or doing that, and you get to see some great basketball. Now, is there one more?
One more. We'll end with this one tonight. What is a better song by Dr. Dre? The Next Episode or Forgot About Dre?
I think the answer is The Next Episode. It is the answer, and I love both, and I honestly think you could make the argument Eminem is one of the, if not the greatest rapper of all time. When you talk about his catalog and, just some of the songs that he's had and the versatility that he has. But I love Snoop Dogg in that song. I like the video. I like the what he does in that song, playing off of Dre. I like the beat in that song a little bit better than Forgot About Dre. So I would have to go with that one. I'd have to go with the song of the Snoop Dogg, Dr. Dre, the ultimate duo, doing The Next Episode. That's the answer to that one, as much as I like Eminem. And I honestly find that one verse a little annoying. I love this. I actually really like the song Forgot About Dre, but that one verse, when you hear it over and over again, it's like, all right, I'm ready for something a little different. Even though I do really like that song. But the answer is The Next Episode. Great track. All right, that's Take Your Pick. A little bit later, we'll have the 98.5. That's coming up. More Celtics talk coming up and Patriots as well on the table. 617-779-0985 is the phone number. Mark Dondero in for Joe Murray on the Joe Murray Show. Let's get a headlines.
Essential Sports Hub headline presented by Celsius Energy Drinks.
It's a rout at Fenway Park. Celtics, check that. Red Sox in control, cruise control here. Top of the ninth, up 10-3 on the White Sox. Trevor Story, 2. No. Nope.
Yeah, it's a long season.
Yeah. Nope. Out. I'm all for the little things that endorse camaraderie or whatever. Putting on the mascot mask. I mean, Lee Corso, no. Not into it. I like the dumbbells. I like those. I like tugging on the beards. I like the beards. I like the shopping cart. Fine. Fun. Not the mask. Not the head thing.
I think the biggest problem with the mask is, what does that thing smell like in the middle of August?
Yeah. Germs. We're going to try to get the clubhouse go down with all kinds of infections and flu because you got people are spitting in tobacco juices inside the Wally head. No. Out. No. I mean, it doesn't even look cool. At least make it cool. Cowboy up. The idiots, like whatever, self-deprecating. I feel like I'm forgetting a big one. Whatever.
Like, what did they do? Like the jumping high five in center field for a little bit?
Yeah. That's good. I'm not in on this. I don't like it. And hey, look, they're winning games. They're playing garbage, but they're winning these games. That's fine. It's early. Look, I don't know what their the baseball hour got a little heated. I enjoyed it. I don't know what this Red Sox operation is going for right now. They feel a little stubborn when it comes to what's happening with some of the guys down there, Roman Anthony, who has really passed every test according to everybody that you listen to down in AAA. Tristan Tristan Cassius, to me, should have been traded a year and a half ago. I've been out on him for years. Out. Don't like it. Don't think his game. I mean, he's a slugger. He's at best, he's Adam Dunn at best. And I never really liked that type of player. Striking out, hitting some homers. Didn't care for that. Don't like that. Then you factor in all the weird stuff. Not somebody I want to attach my identity to as a ball club. He's struggling. He's not playing. I mean, they're talking about other people playing first base. No, I don't want to do that. I don't want him a part of this team. I don't care. And I don't have an immediate answer, but I feel like you could make one. You could get one because these are major league players. Okay? Major league players that have played Major League Baseball for a long time. Somebody has to be able to know how to play first base. Teach them. Moneyball, teach them. Figure it out. Will Abreu, figure it out. I mean, he's never played ever. I mean, get somebody that has some semblance of athletic devil or played a little infield and get them familiar with first base.
Did you hear Dave O'Brien this week?
Like Devers?
You want to see Devers at first?
I would love to. Give him a chance. If he could play third base, why can't you play first base? Again, a lot of those things is just practice. Footwork, learn how to pick the ball. It's not like you're going to have to pick a lot. And even if you can't pick the baseball, I'll put you there until you really become a detriment to what I'm trying to do. And let's see what happens. I actually think, you can tell me if you don't agree, I actually think that could energize Rafael Devers a little bit.
I'm kind of with you on that. I wouldn't have thought, if we go back a couple months, I wouldn't have thought he would have had the reaction he had in the first place to being told he wasn't playing third. I didn't take Rafael Devers, playing the field. I didn't realize he had that much pride in it. So, if he's a guy that does want to prove himself in the field, hey, here's an opportunity.
Trevor Story tonight, 3 for 4, 2 home runs, 6 RBIs. It's a big boy night, Matt McCarthy. Where you at, baby? He hates Story. Ceddanne Rafaela with an absolute monster shot. Now, is he the greatest hitter the Red Sox have? No. But I'll tell you what, when he gets extension, that ball, it goes. Doesn't happen that often, but when he gets that extension, it goes. They need to figure out what they're doing here, and they got to figure it out fast. They have spent too many years floundering and just not being competitive. They have to figure out this is the time to win. Bring up the kid if he's ready to come up. He's 20. He's dominated the minor leagues. He's dominated AAA. Bring him up. Okay? And figure out who is really equipped to be a part of the culture that you want on this team. I understand there's going to be a bunch of different personalities in a major league clubhouse. Okay, but you got Cassis talking about he's making up lineup cards. He's doing weird stretches. He gets injured. He strikes out. He's not producing. He's, playing poorly. Do something about it. It's not too late. Do something about it. Okay, the whole season's in front of you. Nobody's running away with the American League East right now. Probably not all year. You've got the talent on the roster. And Tyler Milliken talked about, we were talking off the air, about when Alex Cora is supposed to go on the hot seat. And not that I'm yearning for him to be there, but I'm sorry. You've been 500, 500, 500. You keep being 500. If there's nothing that changes and if the defense continues to suck, and by the way, great night for Story offensively, once again looked pathetic trying to get a fly ball. I mean, this is a major league. He's a good fielder. And he looked lost trying to catch a fly ball in shallow left field. Pathetically lost. Now, he made up for it and then some. But if the team continues to not play well defensively and be 500, yeah, Alex Cora should be on the hot seat. Yes. I know they love Alex Cora. I know he's a good manager. He's a good manager. I don't not like Alex Cora. I'm just talking about the facts. I mean, if the team is 500 every year, and then you go and get more pieces for him to utilize, more talent, and they're still 500, still making the same mistakes they've been making, what do you want me to do? I don't know. I mean, you got to hold somebody accountable. It'll probably be the hitting coach first. I don't know. But they've won 3 in a row, and it's early in the season. I still think pitching is a problem. Tanner Houck is not some star. I don't care what happened at the All-Star game. He was an All-Star, whatever. He had a good stretch. We know that was fake. They had better numbers as a staff last year in April than Pedro Martinez in 1999. Didn't last. We knew it wasn't going to last. Kershaw, check that, Kershaw. Crochet feels real. Feels like the real deal. That's a difference. And if the kid's ready to play, bring his ass up. Put him in there. Put him out there. I mean, I wouldn't mind, as much as I like Wilyer Abreu, he could be a fine utility player. He'd be fine as a utility player. Okay, depending on what see, if your defense wasn't as pathetic, I'll tell you what I would do. If the defense wasn't as pathetic as it's been, what I would do is I would put Jarren Duran in center field. Okay? And I try to put Roman Anthony in left field. Then I'd have Wilyer Abreu play right field. I'd move Devers to first. I'd keep Campbell at second, and then the left side would stay the same as it is now. You get Wong back. They have no catcher depth, but you get Wong back, and all of a sudden you've got a line up there. You got a line up there, and then it's your choice whether you want Marcelo Meyer in the mix, and Cedric Rafaela, despite the bomb tonight, can become a utility guy, which is probably what he's more equipped to do. He has great defensive ability. Okay? And they need that, but they need it from more than one guy. One guy isn't going to make up for other guys who aren't performing well defensively. Okay, and if that's the case, if other guys aren't performing well defensively, you better have a great offense. And I think Roman Anthony gives you more of that. That's what I would have it look like for me. I put Rafaela back on the bench, and I would put and he can play every now and then. Guys don't play every night now. He could go in there and, on a defensive type of night, you want an added defensive presence, you put Rafaela back in center. Catches everything for the most part. That's how I would handle that. 617-779-0985. This is the Joe Murray Show, 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Don't go anywhere. There's more Joe Murray. On the way on 98.
is you can, I mean, maybe I'm getting a little bold here, but I think you could lock it down that Garrett Crochet is an ace. He's an ace for this team. And that's a big deal. Now, is that going to take them to the promised land? No, but that's a big deal that you've done that. You've solidified that part of your roster, that part of your team, and he's acted like it so far this season. So that's good. They need other things to come around, and it's early. They can. But the fact that they do have an ace, a bona fide, legitimate ace, is positive. And they're only 2.5 games out of first place in the American League East. Yankees 13-7 in first place, and they're without an ace right now. Blue Jays 12-8. Baltimore not doing what I thought they'd do. I thought they'd be a little bit better at this. To start the year, they haven't been. So nobody running away with this division. Nobody running away with any division, really, other than, the Padres are really good. That NL West is really good. Nobody's running away with it, but it's a really good division other than the Rockies, the poor Rockies. Oh, man, they're so far back. Padres, Dodgers, Giants, all excellent. Arizona Diamondbacks, very good. I'll tell you what, Skaz, these Memphis Grizzlies wearing the Vancouver Grizzlies jerseys, absolute fire. Like, you put a Memphis on that puppy, take Vancouver off. The colors, I'm for it. Those are jerseys they should. Forget about that blue crap, whatever they have, the dark blue, baby blue. They need these jerseys back in the rotation on the reg.
Yeah, like why tonight of all? Like, they should be doing this all the time.
Exactly. Vancouver, too. Like I said, just take the Vancouver off. Same jersey, just put Memphis on and use that one. Memphis was, 48-34 this year? That's a real team. I absolutely would love to see them go up against OKC. I am rooting hard for Memphis in this game. And halfway through the first quarter, they already have 23 points. I'm rooting hard for Memphis in this game, and I think touched my nipple on this YouTube thing. Sorry. Don't know why that happened. I'm rooting hard for Memphis in this game. Because I want to see how good OKC really is. Yeah, it's interesting that every division in Major League Baseball is kind of in the same place. Feels like every division leader is 12-8 or 12-7, other than the West. 15-4 Padres. Game and a half up on the Dodgers, who are 14-6. Cubs 13-9, a little bit better. Mets 12-7, Phillies 12-8. The Mets are a half game up on the Phillies. Texas 12-7, Detroit 12-8, leading the American League Central. Yankees 13-7. Everybody's in the same spot. So the Red Sox are fine. 11-10 with a lot of bad teams in front of them. That's good. But it's going to take more than that, and they got to figure some things out and get Roman Anthony up to the big leagues. It's just, why are you waiting? I know he's 20. Just get him up. Oh, boy. Just get him up. I think it's funny. We were talking about that show earlier. Not the show, the songs. Skaz about, Forgot About Dre. Next episode, I was thinking, this is something that's always kind of, I've noticed. I don't want to say it annoys me, but why are people, people are always so afraid to talk about what music they like or what music they're listening to. I feel like they're always worried they're going to get judged. You know what? Damn it, I'm not going to be that guy. I'm going to answer anybody that asks me about music, I'll answer the question. I just feel like it doesn't always have to be this politically correct whatever answer. What kind of music you like? Classic rock. Like, what does that even mean? That's just an answer that nobody's going to criticize or think about judging you on. Classic rock. You can't go wrong with classic rock. What is that? ACD? Classic rock used to be like AC/DC to me. I'm older than you. That's what I used to think of classic rock being. Guns N' Roses, AC/DC, Aerosmith. That was classic rock. Now classic rock is probably what? Something from like 2004? You know, what was a rock song from
like Foo Fighters or something?
They're probably not even that. Like Hoobastank or something like, you know. There was some Foo Fighters from back then. Rock had already sort of gotten off classic rock now is probably the 90s stuff, the grunge era. Soundgarden, Nirvana, Stone Temple Pilots, that's probably classic rock now. It has to be. 30 years ago. It's classic. Nobody wants to talk about... look. This is why I liked asking, when we do the off-air show, I asked Felger that time, what's the one song you listen to that your boys would laugh at you for? I want those answers. I think it's funny. Don't be so, stuffy on what music you like. If you like a song, whatever. It annoys me about people. What's on your playlist right now? What are you listening to? Well, I don't even know. No, yeah, you do. You're listening to something. Just tell me. You listening to Maroon 5? You listening to Pink? That's okay. Just tell me. Just say it. People don't want to do that. It's all right. Let's get to headlines. We'll get back. When we get back, more on the Celtics, more on the Patriots. We're also going to do the 98.5 that's coming up. Tonight's 98.5. The top 5 things I wish they made a documentary about, and they have to do with sports. Guess we could have done a list with non-sports topics, but sports is the 98.5 list of top 5 things I wish there was a documentary about. We'll do that soon. Let's get to headlines. We'll be right back. No commercials.
The Tougher Tire Studios, the 18-time world champion Boston Celtics are looking for number 19.
Tatum pulling up. Good.
Hear every playoff game right here. Your home for Boston Celtics basketball. WBC FM and HD1 Boston 98.5. The Sports Hub. Beasley Media Group Station.
Sports Hub headlines. Presented by Celsius Energy Drinks.
Red Sox get their 3rd straight win tonight. They do it at Fenway Park, 10-3 over the Chicago White Sox. Trevor Story, 2 home runs for Boston. Ceddanne Rafaela added a dinger as the Sox. 6 RBIs for Story, by the way, on a 3-for-4 night. Sox get their 3rd straight win, as I said. They'll do it again with the White Sox tomorrow, part of a 4-game series that will run through Monday. Also, pertaining to the Red Sox today, Alex Cora said that the team expects to get Connor Wong back from his fractured pinky in 2.5 weeks. Celtics getting set for their first-round playoff series. Game 1 will be Sunday at 3:30. They'll host the Orlando Magic. NBA play-in tournament, play-in games, whatever. Continuing tonight, the Miami Heat, they needed overtime. They had a big lead. They lost it, but they did get it done in the OT. They will go on and play the Cleveland Cavaliers after they dismissed the Atlanta Hawks earlier tonight. And currently going on in Memphis, the Grizzlies in control over Dallas, 29-14 currently. The winner of this game, they'll go on to then face the Oklahoma City Thunder in the Western Conference playoffs. Sports Hub headlines brought to you by Awaken 180, the official weight loss program of the Boston Red Sox. Make this season your season with the solution for weight loss. Awaken 180 weight loss. I'm Mark Dondero for Boston's Home for Sports. 98.5 the Sports Hub. Next update, 30 minutes.
To us, Boston pride runs deep.
I'm a Bostonian.
This is Boston's Home for Sports.
Bow, bow, bow.
98.5 the Sports Hub.
Well, always enjoyed Rage Against the Machine. Not my favorite band. Evil Empire was a great disc. They just weren't my favorite. A lot of good songs. A lot of good songs. The Battle of Los Angeles was a great CD, great album. But I like the grunge era a little bit better. The Nirvanas, the Soundgardens, things like that. But a great band. Definitely classic rock now. Tonight will be the end of the Dallas Mavericks season. I still can't believe what they did. All these months later, it's been what? 2.5 months later? I still can't believe they traded Luka Doncic. There was never a good reason as to why they did it. Maybe it wouldn't feel as pathetic if Kyrie Irving hadn't gotten hurt and they were playing with Davis and Thompson and Irving and Lively and Gafford and all those guys. But it still feels like a move that you just can't make. You can't make. I mean, if there were really, truly concerns, you got to find another way to address them. Hire a guru. And now they're going to be, this is a fitting end. I wanted to bet. I was going to bet on Miami and Memphis to win the games, and I would have won big. I was going to put a lot on those two games, and I just couldn't do it. I couldn't pull the trigger because I'll tell you why. Because Atlanta had been good against Miami at home. I think they were undefeated against Miami at home this year. And then the Morant injury, the ankle he had, scared me off. And the Heat, they still almost blew the game. They had a big lead. They almost blew it. They went to overtime, could have lost the game. Trae Young ended up at the end of regulation taking a layup going for the 2. If he'd gone for the 3 and made it, they would have lost. So I don't hate the fact that I stayed away from that one, but it's going to end up being the Heat and the Grizzlies that win, barring some crazy comeback from a Dallas team that's undermanned. This is just getting me excited for what the Celtics are going to do. Like the first round matchup. I like the fact that the Orlando Magic are good defending the 3. I think that's a good test to take before you get deeper into the playoffs. Because maybe the other teams won't be as good defending the 3, and it'll seem easier, and they can get back to playing elite Missoula ball. I just don't think they're going to struggle in the first round. I don't think they're going to struggle in the second round. I think the second round will actually be the easier round. Even though the Knicks, going at Madison Square Garden and playing and all that, the Celtics haven't been affected. They haven't been affected, and it's just such a big thing for Jason Tatum. And I know people have called in. We had callers earlier tonight. There's the stats, and he's better than you think, and this and that, and Skaz has looked it up. And look, this isn't coming from just me. It's not my narrative. Tatum, the narrative on Jason Tatum is that for some reason there's something missing. Now, I've never really had anybody outline for me what's missing. Grandy's not going to do it. Skaz, wait a minute. Do you do a podcast on the Celtics?
I do.
With Jay Stu?
I do, yes.
So how off base am I on? Or am I?
No. When you say the narrative around Tatum is there, I think that's 100% true.
Why is it there? Why do you think it's there?
I think it's because they had so much success so early. I think you don't want to call anyone LeBron-esque, but I do think there are shades of that where he woke up in the NBA in the Eastern Conference Finals.
Right.
That he's been there since he walked into the league. And, for better or worse, he's held to that standard. Like, him and SGA are the same age. And SGA is viewed as like the next coming, the young guy, no pressure on him in the playoffs. But realistically, to me, SGA should be the guy heading into this playoffs with probably the most pressure on him.
I totally agree. I think that's exactly what it is. And because he was born, as you said, I like how you put that, in the Eastern Conference Finals, his bar got so high so fast, unfairly, he just had no chance to stack up to it. And just because he was that good and that hyped and on that stage, that's all we could do. Judge him by the bar that is set for when you're on that stage. And he wasn't ready. And it's an unnatural progression. It's not a natural progression to doing that. And now he's sort of got this, I don't know, this identity of being a guy that's not quite good enough all the time in those moments. And I feel like it's a little unfair, but it's reality because you're right. SGA does not get, when you listen to a guy, go listen to any of the national, go listen to Stephen A. Smith talk. Go listen to any of those people do it. They are not talking about SGA like they talk about Tatum. SGA's got everything in front of him and the benefit of every doubt. Tatum doesn't. He was in the finals. He was in the Eastern Conference Finals. He lost Game 7. He lost to the Warriors, a team that had been there. I mean, that's a really hard bar to eclipse. And it is what it is. You know, maybe that identity affected Tatum a little bit, made him a little skittish, a little, you know, because if you're in that spot so young and you don't have the success, you know, what are you supposed to do?
Would you like a stat you're going to hate?
Yeah.
So shot tracking data in the NBA began in 1997.
Okay.
There have been 65 players in NBA history since 1997 to take at least 50 shots to tie or take the lead in the final 24 seconds of the fourth quarter or overtime.
And this is the playoffs or just regular?
Just fourth quarter and overtime. There have been 65 guys. So, you know, if you're getting 50 shots to tie or take the lead, these are 65 elite players that are getting these opportunities.
Yep.
Jason Tatum, after the Knicks game the other night where he hit 2 of these buckets, is now 22 of 58 or 37.9%, 38% on this shot, making him the second most efficient player of all time for the volume. So the list goes Dirk, Tatum, Tim Duncan. So I think Tatum is clutch. I've seen Tatum be clutch. Milwaukee, Philadelphia.
Yes.
The clinching game last year, he had 31, 8, and 11 or whatever it was. But the narrative, because of what the Celtics have done or what they may have failed to do at times with Jason Tatum, the narrative is there. If you... A guy like Anthony Edwards, who everyone lauds and says is the next coming. Anthony Edwards, in the final 24 seconds of the fourth quarter overtime to tie or take the lead, is 2 for 23. He is an 8.7% shooter. But because he's never been to the finals or, you know, had the scrutiny, he's viewed as one of these guys. So, you know, I don't like to say someone's a prisoner of their own success because, you know, Joe Mazzulla's talked about this. They're lucky to be in those positions. These are positions you ask for. But I do think if you take a realistic look at Jason Tatum, he does get, you know, unfair is probably wrong, but maybe some unwarranted criticism at times. But it's because he's been so good for so long.
It's a great stat. You're right. I don't like it, but I respect it. My point is, and forget about me, forget about my being a talk show host or a radio person or any of those things, a media member. Take that completely out of the mix. Talk about just Mark Dondero, the fan of the Celtics. When I watch the games, completely detached from anything I would do here. When I do that, when I embrace or engage in that activity, and I watch Jason Tatum go down the stretch of a big basketball game, I don't have a good feeling more often than not about what he's going to produce for the team to get them a win. That's just the reality. Now, the stats say I'm wrong. Maybe I've gotten the bad plays have overshadowed the good plays. I don't know. It's probably a me problem. But I'm just telling you what I feel when I watch those games. And sometimes what I used to do with Ben Kitchen, who I used to do a show with, we used to talk about this all the time. And what I would do, and he would get annoyed, I would, when those moments arrived, I would earmark it. I would send out the tweet. I would text him, here we go. This is it. Buckle up and watch, because this is the exact moment we talk about right here with Tatum. And this is where I need him to come through, and this is where I feel like he hasn't come through. So when I watch, that's what I feel. And if you don't like that, too bad, because that's what I, the fan, feel. Not the talk show host, not some guy everybody wants to, you just want to be Felger, or you're just always negative. No, I'm just telling you what me, the fan, feels when I watch some of those scenarios unfold. I don't have confidence that he's going to get it done. Sorry. I wish I did. Okay? And to say he's not clutch, I don't use that vote. I don't use that language. I don't use that language.
Is there anyone in the East, not a team, but a guy, a player that scares you in that situation in the East?
That's a good question.
I think maybe Donovan Mitchell. We've seen him do it a couple times.
That's a guy that's a good one because I've felt that presence that he has down the stretch of games where I feel like he's not going to miss. Just not going to miss. And I don't even know what his stats are. I mean, where is he on that list? But just for whatever reason, the feeling I get is different. When he is feeling it, when he's cooking, I feel like we're in trouble. Oh, no, not again. I just don't get that enough with Tatum. I'm sorry. I've never felt that with Jaylen Brown. Or I'm sorry, not Jaylen Brown. Jalen Brunson. He's a great player. I haven't felt that from him yet in his career. I don't know. I mean, Luka was that guy all the way up until the NBA Finals. Not in the Finals, but he was that guy until then.
I think Kyrie had stretches where he was that guy.
Yeah. And you're right. The stats, I mean, it's probably a little bit of both. Like, I can tell you this. It's not always just being clutch or hitting the last-minute shot. It's when your team is down or they're not playing well. They need the superstar to rise above everything and get the team out of the funk they're in because of his elite talent. Those situations, I feel like he's come up. It doesn't always have to be at the very end of the game. But I would do that. I would go online and say, this is what I'm talking about. It's a 4-point game. The Celtics are struggling. This is where I need Tatum to step up and be the superstar that he can be. Can it happen? And I'll say it in real time when it happens. And then you go and watch what unfolds. Kelly is in Amherst. Hey, Kelly.
What's up, guys? Yeah, man, I think Tatum kind of gets a bad rap. We're kind of prisoners of the moment. At this moment, last year, Jaylen Brown was a little better than Tatum. He got Eastern Conference. He got the Finals MVP, whatever. But over the stretch, Tatum has been the man. He currently holds the record for the most points in a Game 7 for a Celtic all time. That's Tommy Heinsohn, Larry Bird, whatever. He has a couple other records, too. A couple of years ago, Tatum was really cooking. He was scoring 50-some points in the playoffs. Problem was they weren't winning anything back then. So I think the problem now is Tatum is letting the team go a little bit and it's taken away from his stats, but now they're actually winning rings and it's not making him look as good. We want to have one guy be on top and everybody else falls behind, but that's just not reality. So I think Tatum just gets a bad rap because he's not, taking 800 shots a game anymore.
I mean, I just think back to Paul Pierce. Why didn't I feel this way about Paul Pierce? And the answer, Skaz, I think is because Pierce took a normal trajectory. He wasn't born in the Eastern Conference Finals. That's the only thing I can think of. Because it's not like Paul Pierce hit big. I mean, he had some big moments. What do you remember? You're probably, how old are you right now? You remember Pierce?
I remember Al Harrington, like the Al Harrington shot.
Okay, what do you remember from Pierce? That wasn't even at the end of a game.
Yeah, that's true.
Like, what do you remember about Pierce? Give me the big Pierce playoff moments. Give them to me.
Yeah, I mean, him going head-to-head with LeBron is number one.
That's the number one.
Yeah.
What else?
Kobe, probably.
A little bit of, but at the end of games, I don't remember anything about the end. I remember he hit a couple big threes.
Yeah.
Big threes. So, like, when the Celtics had to have it. But Tatum's done that. He's done that.
I think maybe the difference is the expectations. A lot of those Pierce teams, they didn't have expectations almost.
That's another part of it.
At all.
Not Tatum's fault.
Yeah, and Tatum just they were expected to always be good or right there, and they kept failing to get over the hump.
I mean, there's other I mean, if you're talking about the end of a game, okay, I have the Paul Pierce, LeBron James memory, the end of a game. And there's probably others that I'm just forgetting. But that's the one, and I watched all those games. I have the memory of LeBron James in the Eastern Conference Finals against the Cavs. And for Tatum, I've got the Bucks Game 6, awesome in the fourth quarter, down the stretch. And then that Philly game where he was awful, that was a Game 6, terrible all game, and came alive and took over in the fourth to what? Stave off elimination? Weren't they down 3-2?
I believe so, yeah.
So that's 2-1 Tatum. Yet, all I can think about of Pierce, the only thing I think about when I think of Pierce, LeBron. The duel with LeBron and coming out on top. That's might have been the only thing he ever did in the end of game situation, but that's all I think about. And anything else he did didn't matter.
I almost wonder if it's because, like, we view the Sixers as a joke. And we view, like, that Brooklyn Nets team with Durant and Kyrie as, like, kind of a joke because, like, they should have been so much better. Embiid's teams should have been so much better. But because they were losers, we're just like, well, they were supposed to beat them. Tatum was supposed to hit those shots.
I mean, okay, I'll tell you something else. 2010 NBA Finals. They're up against the Lakers. Do you remember anything about what was happening down the stretch of Game 7? The Celtics could not score. They could not score. For the life of them, they couldn't score.
Was that Perkins got hurt?
Perkins was hurt. Yeah. He wasn't in the game. But that game, they could not score. Pierce couldn't find his shot, couldn't get his own shot, couldn't score. I remember thinking, where are the buckets going to come from? And then Ron Artest ended up making the three. They couldn't score. But why do I not get, like, that's not a mark against Paul Pierce. No, all I think about is the LeBron duel. Well, that was awful. He couldn't score down the stretch of the finals, Game 7. He's the best scorer on the team. But I don't consider, like, that's nothing that, I don't count that against him. For what, I don't know why. But all I do with Tatum is count against him the bad games he had against the Warriors or whatever. Like, it really is madness. And it's not just me. It's a lot of the country, the way they view him. And it has to be because of what he did. He was born in privileged, born in the Eastern Conference Finals, born with Kyrie and Gordon Hayward and all those guys and Jaylen Brown was already here. So we already put the bar really high. And I feel like we all need to kind of just reshape the way we think about Jason Tatum because I have these feelings or whatever. We'll see how this year goes. But, man, I mean, I completely dismissed the fact that Paul Pierce couldn't score down the stretch of that game and they lost the championship. It's all right because 2 years earlier in the conference finals, he had a great stretch of one game against LeBron. And that's his entire legacy, the LeBron game. 617-779-0985 relay. We got to go. We're going to do when we get back, we'll do the 98.5. Mark Dondero in for Joe Murray. The Joe Murray Show, 98.5 The Sports Hub.
You're listening to Joe Murray on 98.5. Everybody knows Joe.
Just keeps getting better.
Joe Murray on 98.5 The Sports Hub.
All right, shout out Doug Hamilton. Happy birthday. This is the guy that hooked me up with Masters tickets. We had a great time. The Pink Boys. You know, a lot of fun down there. Saw history unfold. Wild times down at the Masters. Happy birthday, Dougie. Okay, it's that time of night for the 98.5. The 5 things I wish were documentaries. Here we go. I don't know if I ranked these in a specific order, but I will. Okay, we'll go for number 5 first. And this one is sort of personal to me, I guess you could say. The first thing I'd like to see an in-depth documentary cover are the 1990, and by 1990 I mean the decade, the 90s Seattle Mariners. What went wrong? Why couldn't they win a championship? What did they come up short? I'm assuming it's pitching. I mean, they had a bona fide ace. They had Griffey. They had A-Rod. They had one of the best hitter, Hall of Fame designated hitter in Edgar Martinez. They had Jay Buhner. They had, young talent, Jose Cruz Jr. They had steady guys, Dan Wilson. They had a squad. I guess it was pitching. They never could get anybody deep enough. They couldn't be deep enough after Randy Johnson in the bullpen. Maybe that wasn't good enough. I don't know. I would love an in-depth documentary, not just on what went wrong and why they couldn't win a championship, but just all the things. The dynamic between Griffey and A-Rod, all the behind-the-scenes moments, the Kingdom, what that team went through. That's number 5. I love that team. I love those guys. I'd love to see a documentary. And by the way, I'm just warning you, a bunch of these are out of the 90s because back then we didn't have the access like we do today. The Last Dance, we didn't have the access to the footage behind the scenes like we do today. So if you can get some of this footage, that'd be gold. So that's number 1 or number 5, Mariners of the 1990s. Number 4, a documentary, an in-depth doc on the 2001 ABCD Summer Basketball Prospect Nike Elite Camp, whatever it's called. 2001 camp, ABCD camp. LeBron James, Sebastian Telfair, Carmelo Anthony, guy by the name of Lenny Cook. A lot of guys thought he was better than LeBron James. He was supposed to be better than LeBron James, according to some. If you have a full documentary with footage on that camp, I would be all in. I think Kobe Bryant, at one point, in the midst of that three-peat, visited the camp. It was a big effing deal for basketball prospects and the hoop heads. And that year it probably peaked with LeBron, with Carmelo, with this Cook kid. Lenny Cook was like 6'8". He was the same thing, same body type as LeBron. He actually played for the Celtics for a minute. I think he got a summer league stint with the Celtics. Just never made the league, even though a lot of people thought he was better than LeBron James. Crazy. I'd love a documentary on that and to see the in-depth footage. And maybe they have one. I just haven't seen it. That's the number 4. Number 3. Probably have something like this too, but I haven't seen it and I want a better one. The Dallas Cowboys of the 1990s. Give me some on the Cowboys. Give me something on those Cowboys teams. There was a ton of drama. There was drama with the coach. There was drama with the quarterback, the media. They changed coaches. Deion Sanders comes in, the White House. I mean, all these different things associated with this crew of Cowboys players that built whatever they became, the America's team. You go in depth on that. I'd love to see and hear what they had to say, the stories they could tell from some of the parties, and what has resonated with America to this day. I mean, they're still viewed the Cowboys as cool to this day. That's something I'd want to see. I was trying to think about something for golf, but there's been so many good golf documentaries. The best sports documentary out there is The Last Dance. There is one that's close, and it's a different type of documentary. It's called Chasing 82, I believe it is. Tiger Woods. You will not find a better golf documentary than that. I don't care. You won't find one. That was awesome. Carson Daly, I think, voiced it when he was doing some of the work in golf for NBC. That documentary is awesome, and it takes you through Tiger Woods and all the things he had to accomplish and that he did accomplish on the way to the 82 victories on the PGA Tour, and how dominant it was. I mean, it was so. You think Rory McIlroy is special? Times that by 3. That was Tiger Woods. McIlroy completed the Grand Slam, finally won the Masters. Tiger won the Masters 5 times. Ridiculous. But that Dallas Cowboys documentary would be number 3. Number 2, in the 98.5 things I'd want most to see documentaries on. Number 2, Madison Square Garden and the Knicks in the 90s. I would love an in-depth documentary on that. Not so much from the team perspective, but from the fan perspective and everything that sort of happened. And you cover the stuff that happened on the court, the team, and stuff like that. But I want to know everybody that was there, the people that showed up, the people that enjoyed it, the celebrities that were a part of it. Biggie Smalls, that was the heyday of Biggie Smalls and Juicy. During those years, the Knicks were in the finals, in Eastern Conference Finals against the Bulls. I want to go in depth about what the New Yorkers thought about Michael Jordan and what they thought about Reggie Miller and how they, compartmentalized those games that they played in those epic playoff matchups and losses and all those things. And then when they finally broke through, I would love a documentary during that stretch of basketball in New York. I think it'd be fascinating, especially when you talk about the Jordan angle, the Reggie Miller angle from the New York perspective, in the the world's most famous arena and everything. That was peak Madison Square Garden in my mind. I'd love a doc on that. And the last one is obvious. We know which one this one is. Talked about it a million times. A doc, a book, anything you want to give me. Stacey James and his people. Get Stacey, get a bunch of his longtime employees, his most tenured employees, and you give me a documentary, a tell-all. It could be a round table. Just tell me stories. Different things that have happened over the course of your career with Bill Parcells, with Bill Belichick. What do we not know that you can tell us? That would be the ultimate sports documentary from where I sit. No question. Stacey James and friends. Stacey and the Bills. 617-779-0985. Mark Dondero here. Joe Murray Show. 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Essential Sports Hub headline. Presented by Celsius Energy Drinks.
The Red Sox, they got their 3rd straight win. This one at Fenway Park tonight when they torched the Chicago White Sox by the count of 10-3. Trevor Story on the night. 3 for 4. 2 home runs, 6 RBIs. Ceddanne Rafaela added a home run himself. Boston will do it again with the White Sox tomorrow. declared the Memphis game over, but it's halftime. It's 66-49. Now, I don't expect Dallas to come back, but it's not like it's completely out of hand. That's 17 points? I mean, Dallas, they go on a little run to start the third quarter. They could cut it to under 10. I mean, I don't expect them to win. I'm just saying it's not like it's a 29-point game with Memphis leading. So, just hold the phone for a second. Best of luck to all the marathon runners that are getting set for Monday. Great experience to run that race. It is something that, mad respect for anybody that can pull that off and train to get to the point where they're able to run the race and do it and finish. Would I suggest somebody run that race? I don't know. When I did it, it messed up my knee. And to this day, it's still not right. It's just not right. The IT band in my right knee hasn't been right. I'm fine. I just can't run more than 5 miles anymore, which I didn't really do before I trained for the marathon anyway. But it was certainly a good experience. Certainly something that, the fact that it was running that long was nuts. I remember doing I actually on a mile, what was it? Mile 12, 11, halfway through, I whipped my phone out and I executed like a Celtics take mid-marathon. They just won game one over it was right after, you remember that game when Jason Tatum spun and hit the shot at the buzzer? There's another one. We didn't even think about that. Spun at the buzzer and hit the shot on Kyrie Irving. Now it was game one. But there's another one, and I know Marcus Smart made a nice play there. Another one at the end of the game in the playoffs for Jason Tatum that nobody talks about. It must have been, what must have happened to me, I must have been so ferociously turned off by what he did in the Warriors series. That must have ruined it for me. Because when they played the Warriors in the finals, he was so different that maybe it was a shoulder injury or whatever. He was so different than what I saw against the Bucks and even against when he won the MVP against the Heat. I feel like I never forgave him. Maybe that's what it was. I feel like I never forgave him. I feel it was just because he is a player that has done it, and I need to start changing the way I view Jason Tatum. And it's not going to help. I need him to, when the Celtics have to have a basket, I need to see him get those baskets. That would really help the perception and all these different things. So Perk works for ESPN and NBC Sports Boston, huh? Something like that? I mean, that must be nice. He can just appear on all these different NBA shows, different networks, and it's good. I'd love to see the Grizzlies take on the Thunder. I think they'd be a thorn. I remember 10 years ago, 12 years ago, when I was living down in the area, there used to be epic series. This guy I didn't like at all was a big Thunder fan, so I used to always root hard for the Grizzlies. And they had some big series. The Thunder always found a way to win, but it was the Thunder and the Grizzlies who were like an upstart. They had Zach Randolph at the time. We're talking like 2011-ish, in that range. Mike Conley, I think he was on the Grizzlies back then. He's still in the league. Who was the other guy on that team? They had some other guys, but they had some great series.
Like Marcus Gasol.
Yes, it might have been Marcus Gasol. Forgot about Marcus Gasol, for crying out loud. Let's look at the 2011-2010. Tony Allen was on that team. That's right, after he got dealt from the Celtics. It's not like they were loaded. Maurice Spates. Do you remember O.J. Mayo? He's a big-time recruit. He went to USC, didn't really do much in the NBA. Marc Gasol, you're right. Marc Gasol. So it was Gasol, it was Conley, it was Tony Allen, it was Zach Randolph. That was the core of the team. And they would give this is Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook and James Harden. They would give them problems. Fun series. Shane Battier was on that team for a little bit. So it was during that era there. They had some fun series, and they played some good games against them. Rudy Gay. Another guy. Hashim Thabit was on that team. Tall. And the last name I'm going to just mention, Jason Williams. Sort of at the end, towards the end of his career, was on that team, the White Chocolate. Good squad. Battier, like I said. So Leon Poe on that team. Post-Celtics Leon Poe. So they had some guys that had won. They had some guys that could play. And it'd be fun to kind of reignite that series this year if they're able to win it. All right, when we get back, we'll wrap up the show. Mark Dondero, 98.5 The Sports Hub, Joe Murray Show.
Don't go anywhere. There's more Joe Murray. On the way on 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Baseball fans, enjoy